Good afternoon, everybody. Scott Fisher with Senior Resource Connectors again. We are in the middle of season two, and I'm excited to, with each of these episodes, bring you some of the most dedicated, committed professionals that we've known, we've become acquainted with, we worked with over the years at Senior Resource Connectors that specifically speak to and address the issues that so many of us that find ourselves in the 45 to 65-year-old age slot. We are often fully engaged in our own lives and also are walking and loving someone close to us through the aging journey. And that aging journey has lots of twists and turns, bumps, unexpected things around the corner sometimes. And one of those is the issue of dementia, particularly Alzheimer's disease and multiple other kinds of dementia that we're going to talk about here with Laura. But today I want to bring you Laura Wayman. Laura is the Dementia Whisperer, as you can see that in her background there. She's also the best-selling author of a book called A Loving Approach to Dementia Care. You wrote that a few years back, Laura. And Laura's a member of our coalition, and she does incredible work reaching out, training, coaching, teaching. And so thank you, Laura, for your dedication and work. And I'm so glad you're a part of our world. So welcome to our story today.
Well, thank you, Scott. And I am so honored to be a part of your work. We need to provide this safety net for these families who are so in need. And like you and I talked before, Scott, it is difficult for us to get the word out because people don't know they need us until they need us. And, you know, they can see all kinds of wonderful advertisements and articles and all kinds of write-ups about what we do. But we're all living our lives, and then all of a sudden we're hit with this need to figure out how to care for a loved one who has reached a point in their life that need any of our services.
Right.
And that's when they start to look. And so we need to be prepared to help them at that time. But also, my mission is to help everyone become more dementia aware. And you know, Scott, it really is interesting when people say, well, why should I understand dementia? I'm going to tell you there's some scary statistics about this. Because when we reach the wonderful age of 65 or older, we have a 50% chance of having some cause of dementia symptoms. That's a lot of our elderly population. And dementia symptoms are very sneaky because we can have early signs for years and years and not have those around us dementia aware enough to understand it. So that's what I like to spread awareness. That's exactly why that's my mission.
Let me throw you a couple of things out. Yeah, I got to serve. I was asked back in about 2015 or 16 to serve on what was known as the Attorney General's Health and Safety Committee here in the state of Arizona. And our mission was to analyze, develop policy, maybe even potential legislation for the factors that are most affecting our aging Arizonans. Wonderful group. One of the studies we did was that it was really in detail in this report we finished was that Alzheimer's disease / dementia, and we'll talk about the difference because I think we use those interchangeably. But dementia and falls are the top two, and they are 1A and 1AA. I mean, they're at the top of the heap of issues affecting Arizonans, aging Arizonans. You also point out if 50% of us over the age of 65 have a risk factor just by our age, here's something else to know. Maricopa County right now has 930,000 to 65-year-olds. 250,000 of those people are over the age of 75, and 100,000 of those are over the age of 80.
That's a lot of us.
That's a lot of us. That's a lot of us. So God bless you getting the word out. And I just want to say all that to emphasize or underscore your dedication to getting the word out and talking to people before the crisis, right?
Just like you said, I don't just train staff, which is more important than anything else, staff in a memory care community. I train first responders. I train government. I've trained entire communities on how to better understand dementia symptoms and how to communicate with that person. We all need this deeper understanding because there's so many myths and misconceptions, just like you were talking about. We throw those words around, and we need to really be sure that we're using the vocabulary of dementia in the proper way. And so that's part of my training. Yeah. And it is just so essential for everyone to have this training. Just essential, like I said.
Good spot now to just help define what we're talking about. So dementia is one thing, and you keep talking about the symptoms of dementia, and then I threw in Alzheimer's, and of course that's just one flavor, one diagnosis under that. So talk about all that for a second, would you?
Well, you know what? How do you tell a family member, someone who might walk up to you and say, "Scott, what is dementia?" Because there's so many, like I said, myths that we need to break. And so it's really important that we understand what that word means and what it doesn't mean. And so, first of all, if I ask you, and this is so common when I'm talking to anybody, even in the medical field, what is dementia? The first thing that comes to our mind, because this is what we've been taught, is that it's about memory loss. Right. And I think I'll surprise you because it's not really about memory loss. And the other way that we misuse this word, and I'm going to explain this to you, the other way we misuse this word is that we claim that dementia is a diagnosis. Dementia is not a disease. Dementia is not an illness, and dementia is not a condition. So what is it? If it's not all about memory loss and it's not any of these things that we usually think of, then what is it? Well, dementia is a list of symptoms. So we need to talk about symptoms for a minute so you can understand that. So Scott, in your lifetime, you've had the symptom of pain, haven't you? You've experienced pain. Then I think you'd agree with me that something has to cause you to have that symptom. When we have a symptom, it's our body saying something's wrong, pay attention, but something has to cause you to have a symptom. You don't just have pain. So imagine with me, Scott, imagine that you went to bed last night and you felt fine. But imagine if you woke up this morning, the alarm went off, you went to reach for the alarm and you had horrible pain in your shoulder, just unexplained, this horrible pain. You couldn't even hardly get out of bed. It's so painful. You don't understand where that came from. You felt fine last night, but you do recognize that something has to have caused this symptom of pain, right? So you get up, you walk around, you're trying to figure out, I can't walk this off. It's so painful. I can't function. You decide you need to go to your doctor. So you call your doctor up and you say, I have this horrible pain. I need to come in and see the doctor right away. And the office says, sure, come on in, Scott. That's so funny. Like the doctor says, come on in. Usually they say, I'll see you in July. But let's pretend that the doctor says, sure, come on in. So you're standing in front of the doctor and you're doing your best to describe this symptom of pain, what it feels like to you, describe it to help the doctor come to the diagnosis, the cause of the symptom of pain. So you describe it and then you wait for the doctor to take the next steps. How would you feel, Scott, if the doctor just listened to you talk about it, then smiled at you and said, yes, you have pain, without ever going the necessary steps to meet your expectation of diagnosing what is causing it and then hopefully treating that diagnosis? Well, often what happens to these family members is they go to, they're seeing these symptoms of dementia. They're getting more and more concerned because their loved one is showing more and more of these symptoms that we're going to talk about here in a minute. And and they're standing in front of their doctor and they describe these symptoms, and the doctor just says, well, your loved one has dementia. You can't have dementia. It's not a diagnosis. So then what is our job as dementia aware individuals is to say to that doctor, I recognize that my loved one is showing dementia symptoms. What I'd like to do with you, doctor, is work on finding the cause. Now, that's not easy for the medical community because they can't do an invasive, easy brain test on a living person. But there are new and more upcoming great ways to diagnose what is causing these dementia symptoms. Now, why is that important to diagnose what's causing the dementia symptoms? Is you cannot have dementia symptoms without a cause, and there's over 100 different causes. Alzheimer's is the leading cause. That's where we get this confusion. Often people think if my loved one has dementia symptoms, then it must be Alzheimer's. That's the leading cause. That's the one I'm most familiar with. But there's over 100 different causes. And so it's difficult for the medical community, number one, to come up with that cause other than a best guess cause. And there's different symptoms that are connected with the different kinds of brain function loss, because that's what these dementia symptoms are saying. If your loved one is presenting dementia symptoms, or your client or your patient, then we know it's their body saying they have an illness, a disease, a condition that is causing them to lose brain function. And they are showing us this in these thousands of different dementia symptoms. Does that help you to make a little better sense?
Absolutely. That's a really great picture to describe, particularly now I have a clinical background, so I understand even but for the average Joe who's just seeing what they're seeing, and if you're just waiting for the memory to go, there's different origins of this dementia symptom that affects younger people. And in those people, the symptoms you see are very different than the 84-year-old grandmother who's now got, more confusion, forgetfulness, and can't recall her grandchildren's names and all that stuff.
Yeah.
There's stuff that happens across the board that is very, and some is very frightening. I mean, particularly in younger people, it's terribly frightening. And because of the incidence going up, we are seeing more of this penetrate younger people's age groups too. So if you think it's 65, it starts to go up. I'm telling you, I have worked with families in their late 40s and 50s who have had to find placement for someone.
And I hear families tell me stories like this because they're so used to hearing about Alzheimer's memory loss.
Yes.
And so I hear families say, oh yeah, our dad was this great athlete. He played softball, had great balance, coordination. And about 12 years ago, he shifted a little bit. His balance was a little off. His coordination was a little off. And so he went to his physician 12 years ago and said, I'm feeling a bit stiff, not quite right. And the physician at that time just said, oh, you're just getting older, and sent him home. Now, 12 years later, he has tremors. He can barely feed himself. He falls 2 or 3 times a day. Very serious hallucinations and physical dementia symptoms. So the family takes him to a neurologist, and he gets diagnosed with Parkinson's. And Parkinson's is the 3rd leading cause of dementia symptoms. But the family will tell me, we went to the neurologist, and the neurologist says, well, he's probably had Parkinson's for 15 years. And they say, well, we were waiting for him to forget. So we didn't think it was dementia. Mm-hmm. And he still has his memory, because often Parkinson's never affects the memory portion of the brain.
Right.
And so it confuses family. That's why it's so important to become aware, to understand what is it that we're dealing with? Because if you've met one person with dementia symptoms, you've only met one person with dementia symptoms. We have to customize our care approach. We have to customize and develop a care approach that is personalized to that person, because everybody has different dementia symptoms because of the different causes and because of the different makeup of their brain. So it gets very, very complex. And we need to love that person as that individual and take the time to really communicate in a way that does not cause them more anxiety.
Can I make a an appeal if you're listening to this? And I will tell you that after I've been a clinician since 1986, so that's a couple of years now. All your primary care doctors out there are not as knowledgeable as what Laura's talking about right now. I'm not taking a shot at them as a group. Many are, but many are not. And they speak in generalities. They really don't know how to guide a family when these symptoms appear. And so it's really imperative to be assertive as you advocate for your loved one. If you need a neurology consult based on insurances and all that, do it. Go see someone who's experienced and works with these various dementia symptoms and the causes and origins. Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, Lewy bodies, frontal and temporal lobe. I mean, they're all here, right? You would have to advocate for people, because if you just listen to the doctor, that doctor may not want to deal with this. That doctor may not be skilled at this. And I hate to tell you, you're going to have to push and go move down the road to somebody else who is.
And you know what else, Scott, is that it's frustrating to the medical community because they have nothing to help you. There's no magic pill. There's no cure. There's
Right.
no prevention. They have some medication that they are taught that can help manage symptoms, but everybody's so different. And because of the different causes, there's certainly not a one size that fits all. So we need to go to the medical community and help them be dementia aware as well.
Yeah.
That's what I like. I like to approach this and teach my family to say, let me help you with what I know,
Right.
so that we together can work on finding a way to better manage this. I have many neurologists that have actually purchased my book and give it to that family caregiver as their treatment, because they know that the individual that was brought in and is diagnosed with a cause of dementia symptoms, they don't have anything to give to them, but they can at least give the family members these tools to help manage this situation.
And that's what you do, is really give people
Mhm.
hands-on life skills, tools to walk the walk with someone they love, right?
Right. And
Or care for.
I've felt it. I've been there. I've been a professional caregiver. I've been a family caregiver. I have my own personal story about how I came into this. I am a trained gerontologist. I have a gerontology degree. And so that is really basically the study of aging. But I will tell you, Scott, I did not learn about dementia in school. I learned about it hands-on with family and professionals. And I've been doing this for 25 years and going, why doesn't that work? What
Mhm.
is going on? And
Right.
so it's been really a personal journey. I've learned from many other experts, but this is hands-on knowledge. And I learn something new every day from a family member. I'll go, I haven't heard that one before. Let's work on that. So I like to tell my families the cavalry has arrived. I'm bringing the cavalry here, and we're all and I'm so happy to be partnering with you because you bring so much to this table as well.
Well, thank you. I love your energy. You just gave a touch to where your motor comes from. And for a lot of us, it's our personal experiences which fuel the passion to give back, to serve, to educate, right? Because what good is it to have just experienced something and then not tell the others or help somebody else through a similar passage or something else? And so I honor what
Absolutely.
you're doing here. This is big deal. Just before we wrap, I got a couple, just to maybe take another minute or so. Um, your website has all kinds of resources. Pardon me. It has all kinds of resources. Your book's there. Just
So my mission is to raise dementia awareness around the world. So I can provide senior care organizations such as assisted living, independent living, skilled nursing, memory care. I can teach them to be a master practitioner, understand dementia, give them the tools necessary to engage, communicate, and manage these symptoms. I can do first responder training, which is my love. Oh my goodness, the
Crucial.
firehouses and the police departments, they love this because it's so surprising how many calls they get from caregivers who have been thrown into this role without any communication, education, training, and some with some simple help can really extend that person's care in the home, or give resources necessary through you, of course, give resources necessary if there needs to be a higher level of care.
Yeah.
I can do family dementia counseling, and I can do it here in my home office in Queen Creek, or I can do it Zoom. I do it all over the United States. And what happens is we get on and we really talk about, get that deeper understanding, become dementia aware of what dementia is, and then personalize our communication and tools and techniques to help the family with looking for resources, what kind of resources, and learning that communication technique to help manage any kind of challenging behaviors that might come up with the thousands and thousands of different dementia symptoms. So I can do a long retreat at organizations. I do keynote speeches all across the United States. So anytime you can get me, and I have to admit, I'm a ham bone. I love to be in front of these people because I love that light bulb to go off, Scott. Oh my gosh, now I understand a little bit more. I do those all across the United States with an audience of, maybe 10 or 20, or an audience. I've had audiences of 1,500, 2,000, 2,500. I've trained attorneys, fiduciaries. Everyone can utilize this information. And it is truly an honor to help, like I said, help that light bulb go off.
Yeah. Amen to that.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity.
We are blessed to have you. This is such good stuff. 2024 is a big year. We're going to continue to move our mission out farther. We are on a mission to reach those adult kids who are experiencing all kinds of challenges with your parents, and this is just one of them. And so we are here to answer your questions. You can reach us at our office, and we'll connect you with Laura if you want to reach out to the Dementia Whisperer herself directly. Her contact information will be posted here in the video as well. So, Laura, I'm just going to say thanks again. It's been a pleasure to speak to you today, and to our audience, thank you for joining us. It's been wonderful to share. We look forward to seeing you on our next episode. Thank you, and have a great afternoon.
Thank you.